Hello, my name's Bob Rubin. I'm President and CEO of the Lovelace Biomedical Research Institute here in Albuquerque. My organization is actively involved in developing therapies and vaccines against COVID-19. And Terry Cole has asked me to give a little tutorial on the virus and some aspects of its biology for our membership. And so I'm doing this on an iPhone, and hopefully you can hear me and see me. I apologize for the impromptu nature of this little tutorial. So COVID-19 originated in animals, in China, most likely bats. It jumped to people. It is what's called an RNA virus. That is the nature of the genetic material, RNA, in the center of the virus, and it's surrounded by a membrane. This makes this particular virus very fragile, and it can be killed, destroyed completely by simple soap and water. This is important. You don't need any complicated and expensive material to completely eliminate the virus from surfaces, your hands, your face, your clothing. Soap and water does it. This virus is spread mainly by aerosol. That means droplets, predominantly from the mouth, that leave your mouth when you cough or you sneeze from the nose and the mouth. And now we believe through talking, and this is very important. If you look at the aerosol science, most droplets that come from a person go about 3-4 feet, and then they dry out and they drop, they fall to the ground, or they disperse. So keeping a minimum of 6 feet distance from yourself and anybody else you're talking to will dramatically reduce the infection rate from person to person. The virus can survive on surfaces, so when I'm talking, if I had the virus, it could go from my mouth, for example, to a surface and sit there, and it has a half-life on surface of a number of hours. We don't know what the rate of infection is from people catching it by touching surfaces and then touching their face. Most likely, most infection is done through direct person-to-person contact through the aerosol directly. But again, you can destroy the virus on surfaces and on your hands by simple soap and water washing. This brings up the fact that there is great advantage to wearing masks. Initially, we didn't recommend that, but now we do because we have some evidence that many people can have this virus and not know it. They are what is called asymptomatic. They walk around, they talk, and they spread the virus even though they don't know they have it. And they may never know that they have it. They may go through an infection that produces no symptoms at all, and they go about their life infecting other people. So we're recommending that everybody wear a mask when they're in contact with other people, using a mask in plus social distancing of 6 feet will pretty much eliminate person-to-person transfer. My wife made me a mask. She got the formula, if you will, or description of how to do it from the New York Times, but you can get it from the internet. It's pretty simple. Just place it over your ears and your mouth and your nose. It is designed predominantly, all of these masks have a function of reducing the spread from asymptomatic people. So that if everybody's wearing a mask, nobody's going to be projecting aerosol particles forward, and thus the people you're talking to won't get exposed. And the mask will give you some protection from virus particles from other people because you're breathing in through a piece of cloth, and that does trap particles. but most masks, even the surgical masks, eventually get clogged and material comes in from the sides. So the biggest advantage of masks is preventing contamination from people who are positive for the virus and may not even know it. All right. Now, these masks can be laundered in a simple washing machine. Soap and water will kill all of the virus on it. That's also true of your clothes. And of course, just using regular soap and water on your hands is fine. Now, what is the most likely outcome of this pandemic? There are two approaches to this scientifically. Many laboratories are trying to develop treatments for people who already have contracted the virus. And you may have heard about chloroquine and related drugs to chloroquine. The evidence on chloroquine is extremely scant. I would say it's non-existent, and it most likely, just knowing of the mechanism of action, will not prove to be very useful. There's another drug called remdesivir, which scientifically acts on the enzyme that replicates RNA, and this has been proven efficacious in other coronaviruses and is one of the drugs that we're testing here, and may actually be very useful. We're trying to develop it as an inhaled drug here at the Institute, so that you could get a high concentration in the lungs, which may not be possible if you give it as an IV application. There are from 10 to 20 other drugs that I've heard about that are being tested for efficacy in this particular coronavirus. And it's possible that within 6 to 9 months of this date, there will be an approved therapy for people that are that already have the disease. You can advance a therapeutic much faster than you can a vaccine, but it should be tested in animals and people first. We do both of those things here at the Institute and many other places around the country. So there is some hope that before a year is out, that we may have some sort of therapy of varying efficacy to give people. And it's going to be very important that we have a much better testing infrastructure here in the United States, so we can identify people who are recently positive and give them one of these evolving drugs. Vaccines, I know of 3 to 10 that are being advanced right now around the world, and they will take a little bit longer, probably 12 to 18 months before they would be generally available to the public. The virus itself may very well be seasonal. Other coronaviruses that have been studied in terms of timelines have proven to be seasonal, and that would suggest that the infection rate will decline in the next few months and then pick up again come November, December. The virus has proven to be not very easily mutated in the general population. This is early times. This may not prove out, but the early results shows that it's relatively stable, and this suggests that if you get the virus, you will be immune to reinfection for a number of years, which is good news. If we try to look at the mortality of this virus, there have been a lot of figures bantered about, and I'm going to make a stab by saying I think that the mortality is less than 1% of all the people that get infected. When you make a prediction based on the number of people testing positive, you get a figure of 2 or 3% out of Europe, in particular, in China. And I think those numbers are wrong because they don't take into account all the hundreds of thousands of people that have the virus that were asymptomatic or never got tested, never got included in the numbers. So probably less than 1%. Mortality from influenza, the flu, depending on the year, is as low as 0.1%. So this is probably a virus that is more deadly than flu by quite a bit, but not anywhere near as deadly as is being bantered about, and you might suggest by looking at the press, which focuses on ICU and the people that are sick, and not on the statistics. So there is a lot of hope that we're going to get through this pandemic with a relatively low mortality for the entire population, but a great deal of disruption. We're hoping that we'll have both some sort of treatment and a vaccine within, in the one case, 9 to 12 months, in the other case, 12 to 18 months for the vaccine. And that should put a dramatic reduction on the pandemic. Like any virus that spreads throughout the world, you won't eliminate this entirely, and eventually a large percentage of the entire world population will be immune to this, either through vaccination or having caught it one way or another, and then we will get what is called herd immunity, meaning that there are so many people that are immune that the virus can't spread on its own because it keeps running into immune people. And that will probably take 2 to 3 years throughout the world. So this is my little tutorial on the coronavirus and what we might expect. I urge everybody to produce a mask and wear it whenever you're interacting with other people. I urge people to stay apart from one another by at least 6 feet, and stay out of any crowds, of course. And if you have particular questions, you can call me through Terry's office. She'll relay any questions to me that you might have. And I'm all done. Thank you.